for the NAACP Florida State Conference. I also serve as president of the Fort Lauderdale Broward branch. I've come this morning, we're holding this press conference because the NAACP, with its 2,200 units, 123 located in the state of Florida, with its 2.2 million activists nationwide, have come to address the anti-blackness that's being spewed from Mr. DeSantis. We want to do this here with all the delegates so we can talk to us about us and also the problem and the solutions of which we are going to outline. I have here with me our chairman of the board, who is the highest ranking officer in the NAACP, Mr. Leon W. Russell. I have the president of the Florida State Conference and a member of the National Board of Directors, Ms. Adora, Dr. Adora Nweze. I also have with me our president of the Youth and College Division, Mr. Colin Mitchell. We have Senator Dr. Rosalind Osgood, Senator Geraldine Thompson, and our own, all the way for our national staff, Mr. Roger Jackson. That's how important it is. And also our own, even though she's wearing another hat, she's still ours, Dr. LaVon Bracy. We all stand together with Florida. It goes beyond us. It's the nation as we address this agenda. We have come to bring all the smoke this morning. And with that, let me introduce our own chairman of the board, Mr. Leon W. Russell. Mr. Russell.
Thank you, Marsha. Good morning, Florida NAACP. Thank you for your leadership. Good morning, members of the press. We appreciate your being here. Good morning, members of the dais. We appreciate the leadership that you will provide going forward. As we meet here today in Florida, I know that many of us can't help but feel the presence of that dark cloud that's hovering over our nation this morning. Last night, many of you had an opportunity to view the video of the unspeakable and distinctly inhumane beating that ultimately led to the death of Tyre. So before I continue with our purpose this morning, I want to take a moment of silence in honor of Tyre and the countless black lives we've lost at the hands of those who are sworn to protect and serve. A moment of silence. While it may be difficult for us here today, we must realize that we're here for Tyre. We're here for countless scores who have suffered. We're here to deal with the eventuality that others will suffer. We're here for Keenan Anderson. We're here for Breonna Taylor. We're here for George Floyd. We're here for Pulse. We're here for the synagogues that have been attacked. We're here because of those who died going to get some groceries. Those things happen for a reason. We're here this morning because in the Sunshine State, we have an apostle of meanness, an apostle of hate and division, who sits in a mansion in Tallahassee, who has assumed that he has the authority of a monarch. We're here today to say no.
That's right.
We're here to say no to hate. We're here to say we will not stand for policies that have risen out of 240 years, 400 years of racism.
That's right.
That's colored this nation. We're here to tell the governor of Florida that it's time to stop the politics of division and otherism.
Talk about it.
We are the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. At the NAACP, we realize actually that colored people come in all colors.
That's right. Be included.
We understand that we are straight, we are gay, we are men, we are women, we are black, we are white, we are indigenous, we are Hispanic, we come from all over the world. We need our governor to know that what's printed on the back of the money that says E pluribus unum, out of many one, is real. This nation is an amalgam of whatever else is in the world, and we are all human beings, and we need to be treated as human beings. Our history is an integral part of the history of this nation. It cannot be denied. We will not allow public officials in a state that has historically benefited from the sacrifices and work of people who look like me and who look like you. We will not allow public officials to rip our part of American history out of textbooks, out of the classroom, and out of the mouths of teachers.
That's right.
We won't let that happen. Let me just say to you, the 13th Amendment to the United States Constitution provides that neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime whereof the party shall have been convicted, shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction. Now, that's the 13th Amendment. Now, contrary to what y'all heard about Juneteenth, that's the amendment that freed the slaves, that ended slavery in this nation. But the clause, Attorney Colin, in there that says, except as punishment for crime whereof the party shall have been convicted. Now let me explain why that's important in this sentence. We have a governor who has made it his mission to create criminals.
Innocent people.
To create criminals out of people who want to read a book, people who want to provide a book, people who want to lift up their part of this American story. Because he says that might disturb someone and make them uncomfortable. That's a deception, y'all.
That's right.
This is a deception. This denial of recognizing an AP African Studies course is a deception. It's a deception because he understands that it will divide people.
That's right.
It's a deception to allow him to do other things. Clearly, one of those other things is the absolute destruction of public education.
That's right. Exactly.
On the heels of saying you can't do an AP African Studies program, he introduces legislation to create a statewide universal voucher program, but ain't told us where their nickel was going to come from to pay for it. It will come from public education.
That's right.
In a state that has over 5,000 teacher vacancies.
Yes.
Because we refuse to support education properly. It's an effort to destroy public education.
That's all it
in
is.
our state. And yes, we will stand against this silly proposal to deny an AP American Studies course. We will educate, we will educate, we will legislate to the extent that we can, but we will litigate like hell.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
The National Association for the Advancement of Colored People stands with the Florida State Conference of Branches. Whatever decisions you make about how to deal with this issue, we will be there to support you.
Thank you.
From the top to the bottom. But understand that this attack on public education is just part of a greater plan.
Yes.
We must be vigilant about what's happening in our state.
Yes.
We must understand that in a state that has more Affordable Care Act participants than any other state, we have leaders in Tallahassee who already are cheering the fact that they think they can put 75, 80,000 people off Medicaid. When we should be expanding coverage. But we have a deception in the form of an effort to get people riled up about an AP African Studies program. Get your attention taken away from those important issues that the state needs to deal with. At times, it's amazing to me. In the state of Florida, if you look at it, its coffers are currently overflowing. Y'all need to know that. There's plenty of money in Tallahassee. It just is not proposed to be used for the good of the people of Florida. We will continue to see things thrown at us based on a racist theology designed to divide us. The NAACP will not stand for that. We will do everything in our power. The National Association will support this state conference. I'm proud to be here, and I want to go back to that clause in the 13th Amendment. denying people education, denying people health care, denying people adequate housing, denying people the social services that they need, will do nothing but create a new criminal population. And under the 13th Amendment, if they are convicted, they become free labor. Free labor. We will not go back. We will not go back. We will not go back. Florida, we stand with you.
Yes.
DeSantis needs to stop the hate now.
Woo.
The next speaker will be the president of the Florida State Conference of NAACP branches, who has served the state as president for 23 years, President Adora Nweze.
Good morning.
Good morning to all of our officers, all of our cooler delegates, all of our youth, and everybody from the NAACP. Stand up, let everybody see you. Let the press know who you are. Let them know you come from all over the state. Come to the state here, man. Let them know you ain't gonna take no stuff. We gonna ride. Governor Ron DeSantis and the Florida Department of Education are apparently determined to turn back the clock and rewrite history. In the latest brazen attempt to delegitimize, I'm choking because I've got candy in my throat, I got it on. Okay. In order, let me read this again. In the latest brazen attempt to delegitimize African American history, Florida Department of Education has rejected the pilot advanced placement African American Studies course. This rejection came mid-year in the course currently being taught in Florida. The decision by the governor was apparently premised on the baseless reasoning that the course is contrary to Florida law and significantly lacks educational value. Has Florida included a similar prohibition for courses that relate to European history?
Hello.
Let us not be fooled. This is yet another attempt to delegitimize African American history. Yes. When the enslaved Africans were brought to this country, they were not only robbed of their freedom, they were robbed of their history. This was done to ensure that the enslaved Africans were stripped of their power. The decision of Governor DeSantis to prohibit the AP African American Studies course continues this shameful practice of denying the truth about the history of African Americans. In particular, to Governor Ron DeSantis, that you will not silence our voices. We call upon the governor and the Florida Department of Education to approve the advanced placement African American history class. Students, no matter what their race, may be but should be able to learn about African American history. Governor DeSantis claims that the educators who lead African American history have an agenda. We ask the governor this question: when does the truth become an agenda?
Hello.
Hey. Enslavement, segregation, disenfranchisement, or any other uncomfortable truths in African American history, students should be allowed and able to learn what this part of history, African American American history is no less relevant than European or any other category of historical studies. In this country, African Americans are more frequently arrested and convicted and receive certainly more and harsher punishment than their white counterparts. Discrimination in education continues, with Florida still having school districts in 2023 subject to consent decrees to desegregation. African American men and women are just paid so much. Now the men are paid 71 cents for every dollar paid to white men, with African American women being paid even less. Discrimination undeniable still exists in Florida housing. And as for health care, Florida's preventable mortality rate for it is about 1.5 times higher for African Americans. Governor DeSantis' willful lack of knowledge and warped sense of history is in direct and direct threat to all people of Florida, and particularly to the state's 2.8 million public school students. The Florida State Conference of the Naacp encourages every Floridian to condemn this latest attack on the truth, and we urge every Floridian to stand against ignorance, divisiveness, and flat-out lies. Yes. We must not grow weary in standing up for what we know is right, and we must not grow weary in calling out every attack on African American history. We will continue this fight, and we know that when we fight, we win. Yes. When we fight,
we win. We win. We win.
Yes.
We're going to march.
Yes.
We're going to walk.
Yes.
We're going to talk.
Yes.
We're going to tell them what we want, but guess what we're getting ready to do? We're going to organize and make sure that everybody in the state who is eligible has to vote him out of office.
Yes.
Yes. We don't need anybody to tell us that we are allowed to read anything we want to read.
That's right.
Books, paper, toilet paper, anything. We know we read. Yes, I said it. Y'all know what I meant. This one time, go back and tell all the members of your branch.
Yes.
We are about to talk with our black legislators in Tallahassee. We're going to go directly to see them. We're going to eat. We're going to talk. And then we're going to work. And we're going to be asking them to make sure that the governor is not given one dime to do anything to destroy African Americans. By doing it here in Florida, he encourages all the other governors in other states to do the same thing. We can't let him do it. Let's not do that. But we can win this.
Yes.
We can win this. This weekend is most important to us in the Florida State Conference. We have come together today. We are going to be trained, and I want everybody who can, you come up to me and let me know, because I want to know everybody in this room and as many of our branch people as we can meet members, that we can meet executive committee members. We need to have rallies all over the state. We need to organize ourselves. This, we can't ask anybody else to do this. Nobody else is going to do it. Do you know how people have been calling us as NAACP members, telling us that they're waiting for the NAACP to speak out, they're waiting for the NAACP to give them some direction, they're waiting to do some NAACP work, and then they said, y'all go. Y'all heard me? Y'all go. So since we go, let's see if they can vote. Since we go, let's see if they can find out who else in their family and who else in the community and who else they need to tap. We have got to do this. Please, Florida State Conference, please understand. Don't talk to me about nothing else.
Come on.
Don't have that conversation. The only conversation I want you to have outside this is two pieces. One, I want memberships. We got to get memberships. Every branch. I'm asking for 500 memberships from every branch. Don't look at me like that. No place in this state is too small to give $500. Right? 500 memberships. I said, you know why I said dollars? Because I asked us, and I want to repeat this, and they said it last night, but I want to repeat it. I have asked the executive committee of the state to give one youth member a month. Not one of them did. Not one. Now I'm coming to you. Those of you who are willing, I want you to buy one youth membership a month. Any branch that stands up and makes sure that the majority of your branch members do that, you will definitely be hearing from us. Because we know that the truth of the matter is the fight we are waging is for our children, grandchildren, and great-grands and those to come. It's not for us. We've already done our thing. I'm not talking about age here. I'm not talking about age. I'm talking about experience. You've done your thing. The governor can't hurt you half as bad as he can hurt those coming behind you. That's a fact. So that's why I'm asking for the money from you. I didn't say go and get it from the branch treasurer. Y'all need to leave the NAACP's money alone. Stop it already. You think we don't know? We know every one of you. We just haven't seen it. We know what's going on. We need you to do this right. Put down everything you're doing and lift up the arm of God and let him lead us through this fight. Yes. We're going to wage war. See, fighting is a soft word. War is a real word. We have enough veterans in the state of Florida to show us how you really fight. I'm not talking about with guns. I'm not talking about touching nobody. I'm talking about one thing. How to win. Yes. Let me tell you, I've just been given the greatest honor that I can even be asked to do. I am going to introduce you to our president of the Florida State Conference Youth and College Division. Yes. Colin Mitchell is somebody we know very well. We know his brother, we know his sister, we know his mom. We know all of them. And that's because they've given their lives over to the fight. They've given their lives. They're serious. Everybody in that house has a talk in NAACP and fight with NAACP. And I want you to understand that Colin works for the NAACP just like I do. I have never called him and he didn't come. I've never asked him to do something and he didn't do it. I want you to know he is worthy of you understanding that in the state of Florida, our youth are all right. Let Colin see what we know how to do when we appreciate our youth. Come on, let's show it right there.
Are you fired up this morning?
Yes.
Are you ready for work?
Yes.
Let's get to work. In this world, there are leaders who empower the people. They protect rights with the utmost respect. They understand that power is shared, not controlled. When they say Black Lives Matter, love is love, liberty and justice for all, they believe it. They live it, and they do. However, in this same world, there are leaders that spew hatred, lies, and are inspired by the worst parts of the past, like separate but unequal, black codes, Jim Crow, whites only, blacks only, segregation. You don't belong here. Go back where you came from. Here's a flight to Martha's Vineyard, and they enjoy the occasional scare tactic. These are leaders who invented wicked ideas to stop progress. They do not want you to know the history of how to overcome tyrants, because they implement policies to restrict the next generation from learning about it. Ron DeSantis is the reborn, reincarnated, reinvented George Wallace, Jim Crow, The governor of Florida wants his face carved in the stone mountains where the bigots of this nation are memorialized.
Come on.
He is that villain in the movie looking to take over, destroy rights, and reverse progress in favor of a world that silences what he fears most, that we shall overcome.
Yes.
George Orwell said, the most effective way to destroy people is to deny and obliterate their own understanding of their history.
You better say it, brother.
Never did I believe as a high school junior that learning African American history, a history that rich with pride, innovation, culture, true patriotism, would require a permission slip or be rejected as educationally irrelevant. Never did I believe as a young person born in the 2000s that I'll be living the same reality that my grandparents and their ancestors had to fight to overcome. Never did I believe that I'd have to be worried about a casual conversation with peers about topics relevant to my culture, getting me written up or deemed illegal. Black is not illegal. Black history is not illegal. Black stories are not illegal. Black stories are not illegal. We are not illegal. We are not irrelevant. And Ron DeSantis, I'm letting you know today that the evil plans of villainy, tyranny, and whitewashing will not prevail in the end.
That's right.
Because we have a righteous power and always being on the right side of history. Just in case you intend to use your annual Black History Scholarship as your get out of jail free card, your privileges have been revoked.
Hello. Yes.
We understand exactly what you are trying to do. Stop attacking black people, black authors, black history, black leaders, and black books, Governor DeSantis. Our history is educationally relevant.
That's right.
Guess what? You want to end woke? Thank you for waking up. Thank you for waking my generation up.
What's he say, bro?
The NAACP, Florida Youth and College Division, is fired up.
Yeah.
And we have a plan. To start with, we are going to give out 10,000 of the so-called banned books.
Yeah.
Which are really books about black history all over Florida. While we are fighting this government and the corrupt legislators, every youth chapter and college chapter will be passed to set up African American history academics. If they won't teach us, we will.
That's right. That's it. Woo!
And we are going to collect petitions and begin an active campaign to change the law so that never again can politicians decide what is relevant.
Right.
Our plan is to make sure voters are heard. Did you get that, Governor DeSantis? We are woke. All my Florida youth and college divisions, stand up. This is our time. This is our battle. We must fight. If you fight, we win. If you fight, we win. Call for the people.
Yes.
All right, young man.
Next up will be Roger Jackson, Chief of Field of the National NAACP.
Did y'all hear that?
Yes.
No, did y'all hear that?
Yes.
He said something very important. This is their fight.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
And our job in this room is to support them in their fight. Now, you see, I ain't clapping down enough for that. Our job is to support them in this fight. Our job is to lead them in this fight. And our job is to follow them in this fight and give them what they need to fight their fight. The National NAACP is in Florida because this is a national issue. Because if it happens in Florida today, it will happen in Texas tomorrow, and South Carolina the next day, and so on and so on and so on until this democracy and this country is weakened. This is not about a high school course. This may be the thing that brought us together, but this really is about hiding the truth. Which you know is the same as promoting lies, right? That's just a different way of lying. It's about declaring war on diversity, equity, and inclusion. Reversing civil and human rights and equality, and devaluing the contributions, worth, and humanity of an entire race of people. See, when you can devalue people as other or less than, Trayvon Martin happens. Eric Garner happens. Sandra Bland happens. Breonna Taylor happens. Tyree Nichols happens in Memphis. Be very clear. If it is African Americans today, it will be Latinos tomorrow. Not just somebody. I'm going to make it plain. It will be Latinos tomorrow.
Tell the truth. Tell the truth.
It will be Indians and Asians the next day.
Yes. Tell the truth.
And it will be women.
Yes.
Yes, you too, white women.
Yes.
The next day.
Yes.
We must unite to fight this un-American action. We must fight this effort to leave an entire generation of Americans, black, white, tan, and brown, undereducated and underprepared to continue our democracy and successfully participate in a global economy, in a global community, which, in case you didn't know, is overwhelmingly majority not white.
That's right.
The NAACP will not stand idly by and allow these racist, white supremacist, anti-democracy actions to happen. We will fight in Florida, and we will fight across the country. We will fight, and we will win.
Yes.
Next, I would like to introduce State Senator Reverend Dr. Rosalind Osgood.
Let's give our young people another hand. I came in here this morning after being up most of the night watching the horrific videos of what happened to yet another African American young man. And being a single mom of 2 sons, having many black brothers all over the world, it made my sad real hard. I began to understand better what the songwriter said when he said it's a rainy night in Georgia. It feels like it's raining all over the world. It's raining, y'all. But we know that it can't rain always, that the sun will shine one day. As we think about the time that we're in, violence in our streets, violence in our homes, violence in our churches, violence against the LGBT community, violence everywhere. Our nation is in a crisis of violence. Think about the late Congressman Alcee Hastings in 1996 when I was in my doctoral studies program. He filed this bill to study the violence in America. And the bill was never heard in committee. Think about that.
Wow.
Who wouldn't want to study and analyze? Oftentimes in government, you have to do a study to then appropriate resources to solve a problem. But it was denied. We're in a critical moment right now. And we have to literally fight for our lives and the lives of those that are even yet unborn. Literally. As we look at what's going on in this particular state, it is something beyond your wildest dreams. Served 10 years on the school board. Never imagined that I would be in a national fight simply to allow kids and staff to wear masks in school during a global pandemic, to protect them from an airborne pandemic. The governor said you can't do it. We said we're going to do it. And we did it with your help. This is not a time for scared folks. This is not a time for people that just want positions and Facebook posts and Instagram. This is not a time for social media celebrities. This is a time for people who have moral courage. People who have a burning and yearning on the inside to make a difference that won't go away. Just like Jeremiah, when he said he wanted to quit, but it was like fire shut up in his bones. Fire should literally be in your bones today when you see what's happening all around us in this state. We're in committee week. We have conversations and things going on around us like it we're not even present. How we're going to take all of these people off Medicaid. You qualify for Medicaid during COVID, and you make a little too much for Obamacare. In a couple of months, you will be in that gap of not having any insurance. We see what's happening to homeowners, where you are just being charged excessive rates for your homeowner's insurance. And we know that when you pay a mortgage, you pay your principal, you pay your escrow, and then you have that formula of how you're paying your mortgage. You pay your interest, your principal, and your escrow. Now your escrow is actually larger than your principal, so you're paying more for homeowners insurance for now than you're actually paying for your house. That's ridiculous. We look at what's happening with guns on our streets, and nobody wants to talk about guns. You know, maybe we need to start playing some psychology games. Maybe we all need to go buy us an AR-15. I bet some older child can't. Yeah, you can't beat them joining. That's normally how these things work. And we look at what's happening with public education. And when I tell you it's all by design, we have to understand that capitalism and government doesn't work. Capitalism is about money and profit.
That's right.
But government is for the people, by the people.
That's right.
And when we understand that in the government, we the people get to vote and decide what services we want and how we're going to tax ourselves to make those services happen. But the rich 1-2% of the world don't like us telling them what to do with their money. So they run all these people for office so that they can push all of these policies down on us to take away everything that we've worked and we've built. And I'm taking the time to explain this because we can't just keep gathering and keep complaining. We have to take action. As a state legislator, I implore you this morning, I beg you this morning for your help. Thank you for your vote, but that's not enough. We need your presence at the state capitol. We need you there during committee week. We need you there during the session. I just believe it's harder for people to hurt us when they have to see us. The Bible says when Jesus saw the multitude, he was moved with compassion.
Yes, sir.
Because he was in proximity of them to feel their pain. We have to talk to people on the other side of the aisle and let them know when they say and do things, how it hurt us, how it make us feel. To say that an African American history course, the African American studies course, has no educational value. It's just quite disrespectful. It's very hurtful. When we think about the fact that those of us that are of African descent, we come from a strong pedigree of history. People that were doing geometry and trigonometry and algebra before they ever coined the term when they were working in building pyramids. People that were the first victims of human trafficking, not because they was just strong and because they could work, because they had an intellectual, they had a cognitive capacity to build a civilization. They had done it before. They had the mind to build a civilization, so they was targeted. These are the very empowering things that our children need to know. I remember coming out of predominantly white high school and going to Florida A&M, the Florida A&M University, and taking a Black history class with Professor Eton. Yes. And in that class, I learned about the rich history of my people. I learned how we had overcome. I learned how we had invented, how we were entrepreneurs, how we were in the state legislature. That class made me feel proud. I began to really understand what James Brown meant when he said, "Say it loud."
That's right.
I'm Black and proud.
That's right.
Our kids need information that says it's more to them than slavery. Yes. They need information that tells them how we continue to overcome. Yes. We need history. All history has reflective value. Yes. We know that it is history that gives us our empirical evidence of best practices. Yes. It also gives us our painful lessons learned that we should never repeat. Facts. That's right. It is important to what we do from day to day. And as people of color, we cannot sit back and allow anyone to erase our past and our history. Too much blood has been shed. And as I go to my seat, I was thinking about that this morning after I said my prayers. And you know, I'm one of those people that went to church for a long time, you know, made some bad decisions and bad choices. But I think about the blood that was shared for us to be where we are today. Not just the blood on Calvary, but the blood of many that died, that was beaten, that lost their lives, that made their sacrifice. And church, they told me that it's the blood that reaches to the highest mountain. The blood that reaches to the lowest valley. The blood that will never lose its power. I'm not going to let that blood be shared in vain. And I beg you this morning to stand up now and fight. Don't be afraid to do what's morally right. Because ultimately there will be a time that we will have to stand before an ultimate judge. And that judge will make us give an account. We will be reminded of the times we sat silent when we should have spoken up. The times when we were afraid to lose a paycheck when we have a father that owns a cattle in the house. We'll be reminded of the little black boys and little black girls that we didn't care about because they were in foster care. This is our moment in our time. And one thing we know that as people of color, we keep winning. We keep overcoming. But it's up to you to do your part. You know, I love the game of basketball. And in basketball, if you're defending a team, you're going to either be in a zone defense or a man-to-man defense. Now, in a real ball, you don't play a shooting team in a zone defense.
That's right.
We see one shot after another coming out of the floor. We see all kind of jump shots where we see these drive-bys on TV with these universal voucher programs. We see all kind of pick and rolls where stuff is ran through committee behind our back. We see all kind of bank board shots where they pass HB 7 to say that you can't teach something to a student or an employee that makes someone feel uncomfortable, guilty, or psychological distress for something that happened in the past. Sounds like they need a mental health professional. But they put that into policy so that you can't teach certain things. I tell you today, NAACP, we have to get out of this zone defense. We've been in our different areas and we've been doing great work in the community. But it's time for us to man up. It's time for us to go with Tallahassee. And it's time for each one of us to strategize and choose a particular target that we're going to man up and we're going to make face of. Because that's the only way we're going to win this game, is that we face the people that are doing this harm to us and we make them look in our eyes. We can't continue to allow, when you are not there, they can ignore you. They can make you invisible.
That's right.
So I don't know about you, but I'm planning on winning. And I'm going to keep on pressing. I'm going to keep on doing what I can do. And I'm going to keep on imploring you to do what you can do. And I know it gets tired sometimes. This is a hard fight. But I just don't believe he brought us this far to leave us. And at this time, I have the honor of introducing a very prestigious lawmaker, an individual that's a legacy in her own right, that has served in both the House of Representatives, the State Senate, and is now back in the State Senate. She's a walking historical legend herself. I'm going to bring to the podium at this time my esteemed colleague, the Senator of the state of Florida, Senator Geraldine Thompson. Good morning, NAACP. You heard my colleagues say that it's our time. Malcolm knew when it was his time. Martin knew when it was his time. Frederick Douglass knew when it was his time. Fannie Lou Hamer knew when it was her time. Sojourner Truth knew when it was her time. Harriet Tubman knew when it was her time. Now it is our time. It's time for us to take the baton in this race. You know, there's so many people, when you're in a relay race, one person starts out with the baton, and they run as fast and as far as they can run, and then they pass the baton. You got the baton today, NAACP. It is your time. It is our time. You know, change in the United States has never come from the top down. It comes from the bottom up. The people who had disabilities said we need ramps, we need elevators, we need assisted listening devices, and we got the ADA from the bottom up, not the top down. And the civil rights movement was from the bottom up, not the top down. And so we're saying today that with regard to African American history in our schools, that we're going to teach it. It's going to come from the bottom up, and we don't expect it to come from DeSantis with the top down. We're going to teach it in our sororities. We're going to teach it in our fraternities. We're going to teach it in our lodges. We're going to teach it in our social groups. We're going to teach it in our churches. From the bottom up, not the top down. And that's how change comes in this country. You know, James Baldwin said that
not everything that is faced can be changed. But nothing can be changed until it is faced. And we're going to make DeSantis face the fact that African American history has educational value. We're going to make Manny Diaz, our Commissioner of Education, face the fact that African American history has educational value. Nothing that is not faced can be changed. So it is our time to bring about the change from the bottom up and not the top down. We were in Tallahassee this week. I got home Thursday night, and we had a press conference there with Ben Crump, who has a group of young people who are in AP classes who say that they will be harmed if they are not allowed to take African American history in their schools. They're going to be the plaintiffs in a historical lawsuit. Young people who understand that it is their time. It is our time. Now, I want you to know that this AP course, this controversy, is part of a larger plan. It's part of an assault that Ron DeSantis has waged on our people from the very beginning. When he was running against an African American opponent, he said, "Don't monkey this up."
Yeah, we remember.
That's what he said. Don't monkey this up, referring to his opponent. And then after the citizens in the state of Florida put an amendment in the Constitution that if you pay your debt to society and you've had a felony conviction, your right to vote is restored. He put in a requirement that you must pay fines and fees. It's part of a larger plan. It's part of an assault on our people. And then he drew his own congressional maps. Now, as many of you know, I've been in the legislature now for over a decade. I've been there 16 years. And I have never seen a governor draw congressional maps. That's the prerogative of the legislature. The governor holds the veto pen. He does not hold the pen to draw the maps. We draw the maps. So he drew maps that took us from 4 black people in Congress to 2. Half. Part of a larger plan. So you've got to make sure that you understand that this is part of a larger picture. When I was a girl in school, I read about a man named Rip Van Winkle. And Rip Van Winkle was going, I'm not sure where, but he met some people who offered him a beverage. And Rip Van Winkle took the beverage and consumed the drink. He fell into a slumber and he slept for 20 years. Now, imagine what you miss in 20 years. They want you to be asleep. They want you to be asleep. They're passing anti-woke legislation. Is anybody woke in this room today? I'm glad we got some woke people here today. Because we've got to stay awake. Yes. We've got to stay vigilant. We've got to understand that this is part of a larger plan. So let's talk about what the controversy is today. It started with critical race theory. And it's a theory that says that racism is woven throughout every institution in the United States of America. Education, corrections, the economy, that is woven throughout. So, legislators in Florida passed the law to prohibit instruction on critical race theory, which was never being taught. Isn't that amazing? You outlaw something that isn't happening. But they passed the law to outlaw critical race theory. What I want to propose to you today that we need critical race theory, a curriculum rooted in truth, CRT, curriculum rooted in truth. Let me hear you say it, curriculum rooted in truth. We need CRT, a curriculum rooted in truth. We need it today because there is an effort to pretend that America has not been a part of the injustice, the intolerance, the discrimination, segregation, all the things that happen. That's why they don't want African American history taught, because they have to face the fact that all of this happened. But we need CRT, and what is our definition of CRT?
Curriculum rooted in truth.
Curriculum rooted in truth. And we're told that we just want you to teach the facts. Don't indoctrinate anybody. Now imagine if you needed an x-ray, and you went and you got the x-ray, and you went back, and someone gave you the film. Here you go. This is the fact. You got the results. Don't you need somebody to tell you what it means? You need somebody to tell you what it means. So we need a curriculum rooted in truth. And not only do we see fines and fees, don't monkey it up, outlawing critical race theory in the criminal justice system, we still have disparities in terms of sentencing. A black person, a white person, they committed the same crime. Who gets the stiffer penalty? Black people. And as our president said, with the 13th Amendment, you can't hold a person in involuntary servitude except for the commission of a crime for which you have been found guilty. And so there is an effort to make sure that you're going to be found guilty. And you're going to get stronger penalties. And I'm running a bill this year to require air conditioning in Florida's prisons. Now it gets over 100 degrees. And if we're about rehabilitation, we need air conditioning in our prisons. Do you know there are prisons in Florida that have air conditioning? And where are those prisons? They are privately owned, privately run prisons. They have air conditioning. So we're talking about rehabilitation and humane treatment. Our governor set up a voting police. My goodness. Arrested 20 people for voting. Arrested 20 people, had them on TV. They voted in 2020 after the state of Florida sent them a voter registration card. So you send me a card, I go and vote, and you come and you arrest me. One man was arrested in his underwear, taken out the door before he had an opportunity to be dressed. And people who saw that, and it was just before the 2020 general election, people who saw that, some of them told me, I'm not going to vote. I've had a felony conviction, and I'm not real sure if my voting right has been restored. So I'm just not going to vote. He accomplished his goal, intimidation. And those people did not exercise their right to vote. So this is part of a larger plan. It's part of the assault on black and brown people. I'm excited that next week begins the celebration of Black History Month. And it started in 1925 by a Harvard-educated academician, Carnegie Woodson, who saw that we were missing from the textbooks. We were missing from the curriculum. We were missing from the lesson plans. And so he started Black History Week that became Black History Month. And you know what Dr. Carter G. Woodson realized in 1925 when he started a focus on African American history? He did it because Black lives matter.
Yes. Say it.
And now people want to make that a negative thing. Dr. Woodson understood that Black lives matter. Matter to the extent that we're going to make sure that they're in the textbooks, part of the curriculum, part of the lesson plans, part of the discussion. And from the bottom up, we're going to teach African American history. And I have another bill that says that any school that receives tax dollars from the public, your dollars, my dollars, any school in Florida that receives tax dollars, I don't care if you're homeschooled, I don't care if you're at a voucher school, I don't care if it's a charter school, I don't care if it's a religious school. If you receive public tax dollars, you must teach African American history.
Yeah.
Now, this is a law in the state of Florida, and they're bragging about it. You know, it's a requirement in Florida that we teach African American history. That's been on the books since 1994, when Democrats were in charge. And after that law was passed, then Senator Frederica Wilson organized an African American History Task Force to work with the Commission of Education to develop the curriculum, to develop the lesson plans, to push it out to all 67 counties. We're in 2023, and of the 67 counties, only 12 have been deemed to be doing an exemplary job in teaching African American history. And since this issue came up, some folks said, I never even knew that was a law. And these are teachers. Because during their in-service training, nobody ever said to them, you have to teach this. And there have been no consequences for not teaching African American history. You know, the speed limit is set at 70, and you decide you're going to drive 85, you'll see a blue light, red light, pull you over. There'll be some consequences. There have been no consequences for not teaching African American history and following a law that's been on the books since 1994. We got to look at the textbooks. Are we included in the textbooks that are adopted? Are we in the curriculum? Are we in the lesson plans? Are we part of the discussion when it comes to the history of America and how we got to be where we are? We got to make them face it if we want change. Now, again, Baldwin says not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed unless it is faced. And so today, I take my seat, but I want you to remember that we need CRT, and how do we define it?
Curriculum rooted in truth.
A curriculum rooted in truth. And I'm privileged to introduce a woman that I've known for a number of years, decades, who was at the University of Miami in Coral Gables. It's a cane thing. And I was there at the same time that she was there. And people asked me, well, what was that like? I said, well, there were 18,000 students and 125 of them were Black. So we had to come together. We had to unite. And this young woman said, in addition to the Black Student Union, we also need women at the forefront. And she organized what was called Black Sisters for Progress. I was a member of Black Sisters for Progress, and it was owned at the University of Miami when we were there. And so I want to introduce to you a person rooted in the NAACP. Her father was president in Alachua County. Her husband was president here in Orange County. She's been actively involved. My roommate from undergraduate school, Dr. LaVon Bracy.
I am delighted to be here today, and I am a life member of the NAACP. My father, my husband wouldn't have it any other way. So let me just share a few things and I'll sit down. In 1964, my father was president of the branch of NAACP in Alachua County. And he wanted to integrate the school system, and Alachua County refused. So my father, with the NAACP, sued the Alachua County School Board. And the judge said that they had to integrate with all delivery speeds. It was because of the NAACP that I went to Gainesville High School. That was in 1964. At the age of 74, it remains the darkest and worst year of my life. So I say to Mr. Governor, the real history is they spit on me every day. They call me the N-word every day. They beat me. They put tacks in my seat. Under my seat, they put dead roaches, dead snakes, dead rats. They gave me nasty letters every day. I was not welcomed by the white principal, the white students, or the white teachers. They made my senior year at Gainesville High a living hell. I'm sorry if this history makes you feel uncomfortable. But it is the atmosphere that it was like in the 60s in the great state of Florida. And I feel that 59 years have passed since I graduated from Gainesville High. And this is the atmosphere for blacks who live in the great state of Florida today. This is the real history. I wrote a book for children about what happened to me because I thought that the real history of Florida needed to be known. And we need to know our history. If you don't know your history, you are doomed to repeat it. So I took my children's book, Brave Little Cookie, and I took it to Tallahassee, to the Department of Education, because I felt that that's the kind of history that our children need. Yes. I'm here to tell you that my book is not in the public schools, and my story is not being told in the public schools, because my story makes people feel uncomfortable today. So the governor has decided that he's the authority on black history. And he should decide what our children should learn regarding black history. My story is not one of them. He has decided by taking away the AP course on African American history. He needs to know that he disregards the pain, the labor, and the abuse of black people have experienced in this country. Black people are part of the fabric of this nation, and the governor does not know it. Our stories deserve to be told in schools so that the next generation will know the true story and not watered down version that sound good, but not factual. I'm not the only one with the story of the 60s. There are a whole lot of stories that are out there that need to be part of the fabric of what is told in our schools. Representation matters to our youth who are still faced with a world full of inequities and injustices. Mr. Governor, you have decided to practice genocide with our history.
Yes.
So what can be done with the governor's actions? Well, the governor is emboldened right now because of the November election. Many of us voted, but many of others did not vote. So he won by a good margin. And now he has supermajorities in the House and the Senate. So he feels that I can do what I want, when I want to, and there are no repercussions to what I will do. So since Mr. Governor and the Commissioner of Education have decided that we have no educational value, I beg those of us who are on the right side of history to remember what the governor has said. Your history has no value. The next time you see his name on the ballot, and there will be a next time, let Mr. Governor know what real no value really looks like. Make sure is that everybody that we know everywhere is registered to vote.
Yes.
And not only registered to vote. Now you know that now that those that vote by mail, every person has to, again, register to vote by mail. So we need to make sure that our vote is counted. Make sure that every person in your household, in your churches, in your communities are registered to vote. If they vote by mail, they must again fill out an application to vote by mail, because this time we're going to show folk what real value really looks like when we vote. Thank you so much.
Before we break, are there any questions from the media? Go to the microphone, please, so the delegates in the back can't hear you.
Thank you so much. Jerry Askin, Channel 6, the local CBS affiliate here. What again is your official statement or response to the recent Tyree Nichols incident? You all mentioned it this morning, but just what's your official statement on that?
No, the Tyree Nichols situation simply, again, tells us that police reform is a necessity in the United States of America. We have to do in our communities, our police. We have to teach our young people how to deal with police, but we have to have a system of policing that recognizes that the answer to a simple traffic stop is not a gun, it's not a beating, it's not a baton. It is simply give the person a ticket and let them go. That's the
question, you touched on the issue of litigation, and I just sort of wanted to clarify that, and sort of look at I know you guys have addressed this from other speakers, but the particular steps that the NAACP would like to take in response to what's going on with AP courts and other local entities.
The first thing is to explore what the potential legal routes are. It's to identify those people who will be damaged by implementation of this rule. And then it's to take the steps necessary to put together the legal process that we will use to fight. We are exploring that right now. Whether we join with others, we will make sure that in some form.
Basically, with the 10,000 books. Basically, with the 10,000 books, we're just trying to get all the, it may be different books that are banned, which is considered woke. So we're just gonna give them out. That's one of our steps to really stop this whole crisis. Because really and truly, this is how Black history is a part of American history.
Yes, it is.
I'm just gonna say, we built this nation, and we should have our own way to tell our history.
Yes.
Yep. And history, how people say, oh, it makes me feel uncomfortable. History is not meant to be comfortable.
Thank you.
Say it, boss.
The
Get the good and the bad.
uncomfortable, but we have to accept it.
That's right.
So that's why we are trying to push to get as many books out as possible. Because if we let this man called Governor DeSantis do whatever he wants, it could be the end to our own rights.
That's right.
That's right.
Thank you, Mr. President.
You better speak, young man.
Thank you to our President and CEO, to our Florida State Conference President and National Board Member, to certainly our own President Colin Mitchell, President of the Youth and College Division. Thank you to the National Office for sending down Roger, who you're going to hear shortly. Thank you to the senators who came, who are both life members of the NAACP. And thank you, Dr. Bracy, for sharing your story and also continuing with the legacy and life membership in the NAACP and your kids as well. I met the other Ms. Bracy the last time we were here, and I had met her before, and she was excellent. So if you need to take 5 minutes, please do so while we change the panel. And Mr. Jackson, you can come and set up. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let's give our chairperson a hand.
Yeah.